Hello, everyone, and welcome to this video edition of the Collaboration Space podcast. I'm your host, Nancy Lucier, and today I'm going to be talking about the return to work. And while offices are planning to fully reopen, we know that some employees will still be working remotely, creating the need for a hybrid workplace. And AVI-SPL has a little shortcut for you to start redesigning your spaces, and they're called reference designs. And here with me today to talk a little bit more about that is AVI-SPL's Director of Solutions Enablement, Derrick Kelly. How are you today, Derrick?
I'm doing well. How are you, Nancy?
Great. So my first question for you, Derrick, is what are these reference designs that I'm talking about, and what do they include?
Reference designs for us are based upon a multitude of different platforms for unified communications and collaboration. And what they kind of encompass is certified devices, structures, and vetted out systems that we have worked through from various designs and deployments that are strong components for the individual platforms and everything else like that. They're set up to be repeatable. They're set up to be quickly deployed for a multitude of different scenarios. And generally, the room references that we are using cover a wide range of different spaces for similar type designs. It allows for consistency across a landscape. A consistency across your entire organization, how you might be able to handle that at scale, which then leads to consistent user experiences and user-friendly type spaces that we can quickly deploy and be confident in their capabilities for the different platforms.
That sounds great. Can you tell me what's included in the reference designs also?
So generally, it's going to be mostly technology-based scenarios. So it's going to be cameras, audio interfaces, control interfaces, displays, some mounting components and aesthetic elements to the individual kind of spaces. Furniture is always going to be a subjective kind of thing for most companies in most different scenarios. So only the necessary components that would be kind of a furniture element will be involved, because that's harder to fit in per customer spaces. But the consistency of devices, vetted out cameras or certified cameras for different unified communications platforms, different audio components and control components that function easily and deploy easily, those will be the consistent components of the reference designs.
So we know that remote workers have been home for over a year using their preferred collaboration platforms, whether that be Microsoft Teams or Zoom or Cisco. Are these reference designs specific to a certain platform? Or what if I want to use more than one when I go back to the office? Can I switch back and forth? How does this work?
So the designs themselves are based around, right now, four distinct platforms: Cisco WebEx, Google Meet, Microsoft Teams, and Zoom. And they are set up with certified and vetted devices with the manufacturers themselves. You can find the certifications for the devices on the manufacturers' websites themselves. We are not going outside of that. Part of the reason for that is to ensure that when you deal with those specific platforms, they're not going to point to the devices themselves as being uncertified or not being up to par for the device requirements for the UC platforms themselves. As far as utilizing different platforms, generally they're going to be kind of platform specific in terms of what they do. Now, we do know that many companies are working through scenarios where they may have multiple platforms inside of their spaces. Most of these are going to have to be kind of dedicated to a specific platform, but we do have options to offer to allow for interoperability between different platforms. So we can do the reference designs and then also offer standard interoperability add-ons that will allow for different systems to work together.
So I think that customers are probably going to be needing a lot of different size spaces. And as we mentioned, they're all going to need to be video enabled. What designs do we have ready to go for different size spaces and rooms?
So we designed around kind of the most typical spaces that we get asked for as a whole. So collaboration spaces, which are 3 to 6 people kind of definition space that may have some whiteboard interactivity involved, or at least some type of collaboration type interactivity between the participants in the meeting and the participants on the far end, and the ability to kind of control some of that stuff as well. Huddle room type spaces, which is 2 to 4 individuals, kind of roughly that size. Medium conference spaces, 6 to 10. Large conference spaces, 12 to 16. And then a training room or classroom type scenario, which could be 10 to 16 folks, but may need to be a little bit more flexible in terms of what's going on, because furniture inside of the space may need to move for specific accommodations or anything else like that. So generally, those are the types of rooms that we have standardized on for these reference designs to ensure that we hit the majority of what we're being asked on a regular basis. Doesn't mean we can't go outside of that. It's just these standard reference designs will accommodate these types of spaces.
Derrick, what are some of the benefits of partnering with AVI-SPL versus, me doing it on my own with my internal teams?
So one of the good thing is we have experience in all of these platforms. We have experience with all of these different devices, how they function, areas where they have worked, areas where they haven't worked. Then from there, we take that knowledge base and we take what we've learned through deploying this in multiple different scenarios in multiple different countries to be able to give you a consistent experience as a whole. Our teams then report that knowledge back through the entire organization. So learning for us is not just hey, we learned it in Chicago and then nobody else knew about it. It becomes this hits the entire organization. It talks about it gets to our global team. So it gets to our presences in the US, Canada, UK, EMEA, Asia Pac, and moves into the ability for us to provide a consistent experience across the entire globe, and for all of the individual companies and resources that need to deal with this. Plus, because we have a global reach, these reference designs were also worked on with the different manufacturing partners to ensure availability in all of the global countries that we have presence in and have capabilities of providing systems for. So it's not just hey, it can be done in North America, but then we can't do it anywhere else for you. These reference designs used global as a benchmark, as something that we had to strive for from our global designs.
Well, it sounds like we have a lot of different options for people to work with and that they can customize. Thanks for all that information. So, Derrick, thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Well, that wraps it up for this edition of the Collaboration Space. I want to thank my guest, Derrick Kelly, and I want to thank all my listeners for joining us today. And I'll see you in the next episode.